They say Route 66 is haunted. Not in the cheap, gas station tourist trap kind of way, but in the ancient sense. Like the road itself remembers every death, every sin committed across its broken asphalt veins. But that didn't bother Ian Holloway, a burned-out travel vlogger desperate to resurrect his dying channel. Views were down, sponsors had fled, and all he had left was an idea. Exploring the paranormal highways of America, Route 66 after dark. Clickbait? Maybe. But it had potential. That's why Ian found himself cruising the cracked spine of the Mojave stretch. GoPros mounted inside and out, his drone packed in the trunk, and 2 Red Bulls rattling in the cup holder. The sun dipped behind the horizon, bleeding crimson into the desert. Shadows grew long. The GPS signal flickered out just as he crossed into a forgotten section. Mile marker 313, far past the usual rest stops. That's when he saw her. A woman in white, standing at the edge of the road. Ian slowed. There were no other cars for miles. She didn't wave, didn't move, just stood there with her long black hair covering most of her face. Something about her stillness didn't feel right, but hey, this was the content he needed. He hit the brakes and grabbed his handheld camera. "Miss, are you okay?" No answer. The wind whispered across the desert. Ian inched closer, and as he raised his flashlight, she turned her head slightly. That's when he saw them. Eyes black as engine oil, lidless and full of something ancient. Predatory. Hollow. Every part of his body screamed to run, but the filmmaker in him overrode the instinct. He backed away slowly and turned to get back in his car. That's when she spoke, her voice dry as sand and cold as the dark side of the moon. "You stopped. That means you saw me. You're mine now." He slammed the door and gunned the engine. Gravel kicked up behind the tires as he fled down the highway. The woman didn't chase. She didn't need to. In Arizona, Ian met an old Navajo man at a rest stop. The man watched him for a long moment and finally said, "You saw her, didn't you?" Ian froze. "Who?" The man replied. "The Tsili, the black-eyed watcher, spirit of vengeance. She comes to those who disturb her path. If she speaks to you, you're already fading." Ian showed him the footage, but the man refused to touch the laptop. He said, "You must return. Go back to where you saw her. You must give her what she wants, or your soul will wander Route 66 long after your body dies." Ian asked, "What does she want?" But, the old man was already walking away. That night, Ian drove back toward mile marker 313. Every power line seemed to bend in her direction. The desert was unnaturally quiet. The moon hung low and red in the sky. When he arrived, she was waiting, standing exactly where he first saw her, motionless and impossibly still. He stepped out of the car. His camera dangled in his hand. She whispered, "You came back." Ian asked, "What do you want from me?" She lifted her arm and pointed to the camera. "Your eyes brought others. Now I must be seen forever." Realization dawned too late. The footage had cursed everyone who saw it. She didn't want revenge. She wanted an audience. Ian screamed as the desert wind rose around him, whipping sand into blinding spirals. The camera fell, still recording, as the screen blinked with static. His last frame showed his mouth open in a silent scream, and her black eyes reflecting back every soul who had watched. The video remains online. No matter how many times it's flagged, reported, or deleted, it comes back under different names. Black-eyed woman on Route 66, real footage, traveler's last video before disappearing, and, do not watch at 3:13 a.m. Thousands have seen it. Most ignore the warnings. A few go missing. Some claim to see her in their dreams, smiling behind them in the mirror, standing at the foot of their beds, whispering, "You saw me. You're mine now. So if you're reading this and you watch the footage, don't stop, don't rewind, and whatever you do, don't meet her eyes.